myself. So we're going to start with chapter 17, hairstyle. I'm not driving right now.
It's going to record eventually. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so we will start with chapter 17. Now, you all know that we are going to start at how things go with me. So we do a small portion or a small little snippet of the slideshow. The assignment was, of course, to preview the information in Cengage and read chapter 17 last week. For those of you who are new, what I would invite you to do is to go through chapter 17, and this will give you a more kind of fully realized view. It's not super fun whenever you have me or anyone else, just talking at you and going through the slides. I want us to go into the practical applications pretty quickly as well. So it will not only take us through the practical application of wet styling, but we will touch on shampooing, straightening correctly, and we'll get into finger waving and curls. Roller sets will be tomorrow, and then I also go into blow drying and heat styling as well. So we will post a couple of post a couple of these so that everyone can see. It said Jennifer Woods, and then it out there. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through the first portion of the slides. Now, if you're going along in your chapter, for me, it's easier if you guys just join here. I know Nick said that he was going to get me a TV so that back there, but we'll begin into the first portion of this, which is going to be the wet styling portion.
Okay.
You open the link.
Don't eat so much at one time.
Okay, and everybody should be able to see that there. So this chapter is just a preliminary overview of hair. Overview of hairstyling. So for those of you who are newer in the class, what I want you to think about, this is the theory portion. This is not going to have a lot to do with your practice. While you're here on campus. But in hairstyling, we do go over the finger waving, pin curling, roller setting, and hair wrapping techniques. Those are to choose how you want to style, but those relate to our practice this week. So we'll go over the 4 basic curl patterns and explain the end result that plays into our roller setting, the 3 types of hair pressing. We'll talk about preparation, sectioning, balance, whenever it comes to updos, and then 2 foundational updos for styling long hair. Now, I usually don't make you guys do that portion until a later time to make that kind of process. So what I really want to, why I really do focus on this, and this would have been in a 4 class anyway, by starting this semester. Think about, for those of you who are a little further along, why is it important to know how to wet style?
ready to do this one, I think we have it this way.
Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly right. And so you've got to think, you seem a little bit old-fashioned because when I was a little boy, like with my grandmother, I would put her hair in pin curls before we went to church every Sunday, and then she would come out. And we thought, well, you know, that's ridiculous. That's something that they did back in the 40s and 50s. Well, but it teaches you how to manage your hair. So it teaches you how to correctly shape your hair, how to correctly part the hair, and then whenever we get into things like cutting and coloring, it makes it a little bit and then think any service that you do, whether it's for hairstyling or to a chemical or a cutting service, what are we going to do? We have to shampoo it, right? So this is setting that foundation so it builds that kind of exterior, not only in the papers that you're going through, Full stem is going to give you at least a foot. Okay? And for this, whenever you're going along, remember always has it in chapter 17 in your textbook as well. So I always tell you guys you can go through and highlight, but apply actually specific attention to some of these details. You're going to review this in Cengage, but these are also things you need to know for staple. Oftentimes the hairstyling questions, they focus really heavily on parts of the curl. So knowing those and taking special attention to what the actual terms are called, that will serve you very well. Okay, we'll actually do shaping, up with the back. But what I want you to think of here whenever I'm looking at the base, they pay special attention to the type of base that they're creating. So rectangular, triangular, arc, or square. See if you're looking at this picture, see what you're looking at the picture in the book. What do you think I would use for rectangular base? Right, if we're wanting something on the side that's kind of away from the base, but if I'm going to use a rectangular base, what type of volume am I looking at? About a half stem, a full stem, and a half stem. Full stem, right? So you're probably not going to get as much volume as you have that really long base. Then if I'm going to use a square base, here you can see from the picture. If I'm using a square or an arc base, how much volume? A lot, right? Because that is sitting right on the base. There's almost no stem. So what I want you to start to think of is yours is causing effect. If I'm going to time up right here, am I going to use this rectangular base? Probably not. If I want to talk wave, I'm kind of talking about where we can use them. Well, rectangular bases with stem curl, that's probably. Now, granted, in school, am I saying that in honors, are you going to use these exact techniques? No, but I want you to think about whether you're using a curling iron and a flat, right? Which is doing the exact same thing if you're going to go up here. If we want maximum volume, we're going to take little tiny bases and we're going to roll that curl right on the base so we get a lot of volume, right? So we're still using the same architecture. This is just doing it back. So I like for these things to start to come full circle because again, if you start to adopt the verbiage that you're learning in the textbook, you're going to be more well-rounded and then you feel more confident and say, I get a passion question. Because it's how I know how to do it, right? Or at least it's seen it before, so you get an idea of how to work. Usually medium or full, so you can do either or. I will tell you about those triangular bases, where that kind of came from. So where you see this in, I think, modern hairdressing is whenever they're boxing on the hair for braids. But if you were to do a curl like that or maybe in a pinch or not, that's when you see this kind of thing. You get really full volume because they look right in the center with no stem whatsoever. What this used to look like is if they wanted soft fullness, they would actually call block. So what they would do is create that little triangular base naturally curly, and to get this, I just use a very small mouthbrush. But if I didn't do anything to my hair, or I think they have seen it like on days when the humidity's really bad, mine's really, really yeah, and so what I do is I just round brush it out and help depending on the humidity. Mine used to get, I have long hair, but I just round it out. So that's what I do. And now, I don't want us to get too into ridge curls and skip waves. You need to know this for, you need to know this for the test of the Cengage, and you do need to know this for the state board. You really just need to know the definition. No one is going to come in and say, I want ridge curls, or I want skip waves. I just want you to refer to the information. So my expectation, like I said before, is that you're reviewing the chapter either in Cengage or you're reading it in your physical textbook the week prior. So next week, of course, we'll be doing chapter 18, so make sure that you read it. All right, so before we move on, what questions might we have as far as hairstyle? Because I don't think anything's too complicated. Okay. And this one is an easy chapter. It's pretty straightforward. I just always like to make sure that you guys will do everything before we come in for the day. And that's the important because when you're going over these slides, I need to show beginners who like to go over slide share probably, right? So just making sure that we've already been introduced to the So what I'm going to go over this, the different bases, and then we will do a slight break, and we'll get ready to do practice. Now I might have to get another computer because I told them the practice portion over there. Or, you know, if you guys ever have a lunch at either my room lunch, but I do want to make sure that we creating roller curls, what you see there, there are magnetic rollers, little plastic magnetic rollers that you're going to have in your kits. Yeah, I would always say bring your textbook when you're going through, or you can bring your device to see what you have there in your textbook if you want to follow along. I know some people, I'm that same kind of person, like I said, I'm finishing my degree right now, and it was just so much cheaper if I had just had to look, because I can't find my book, so I had to buy 300 public books so that I could go through it, because I'm the same way, so I can think of it. So, whenever we're creating curls, there are different types of rollers. Right there. So there are different types of rollers that we can use. The biggest thing with this is you can see hot rollers there, which recently have come back into vogue. I think they went away after the 90s, but hot rollers have come back pretty fucking heavy. And you can see the Velcro rollers, the regular rollers, set rollers, and then of course the magnetic rollers. Magnetic rollers are the hard plastic rollers. So just knowing the different types of rollers that are out there, of course, if you're using hot rollers, that those are just dry. Perfect. And so just don't get those confused, because what I want us to know is that when we're doing thermal styling, do you ever touch a hot tool to wet hair? Yeah, because then we're going to hair, right? So just know that if we're going to be getting to our iron work, that is or our hot rollers, that is all going to be done after the hair is worked. Okay? Yeah. So that's why this portion of the day is going to be wet styling, and then we'll get into dry styling tomorrow. That means the hair has already been dried, or we're blow drying it and controlling it. Okay? So I know sometimes if I throw out wet styling, I don't want you to think that you're expected to know what that means. But if the hair is wet, we're going through creating the style and letting it dry, or are we drying it and concentrating stuff, right? So that would be blow drying it. Okay, now, taking the notes. This is going to be extremely important because I saw this before. When I say that, if this comes up, So that is going to be this little section there that we posted. And it, but if you, the reason that was is going to determine the volume, right? Because once we get into the stem, which is the little piece of granite round, and then the curl is the circle that goes around. So if you talk about base, this is where you're going to get into is this on base, down base, or off base. That's when base is going to determine how high or how voluminous that curl is. So just remember those three terms because you can see how they come up twice now on every skateboard test. They're always like, and it can be like, I don't want you to think that they're going to have anything super specific. It can be as simple as, what are the three parts of the curl? And then and another part they might say circle, right? The circle part of it. So just keep this in mind because for whatever reason, remember I graduated in 2009. Those were questions that I had, and then I've been teaching this since 2012. I don't know why, but those always show up. So parts of a curl, just keep those in mind if you're taking those. Now, the roller size, whenever you're going to say a C-shaped curl, these are just curls and wave. I don't want you to get too into that because really what they're going to focus on more than anything is direction. So that's more into the placement. What I want you to think of when you choose a roller size, it's the same as whenever you're using a smaller round brush or the same when you're using a smaller curling brush. So if I use a little round brush, or is it earlier, right? So the smaller the barrel, the tighter the curl, right? The smaller the hole, the tighter the curl. The bigger it is, because I think everybody made that discovery, right? They get that huge round brush, and like, oh, my hair is going to be so curly. It wasn't if you used a giant round brush, right? Because it's stretching down. Okay? So just remember that whenever you're choosing the roller size or the brush. If she says, I want really curly hair, are you going to use a round brush this big? No, right? Because you can't get it out of control. That's what I'm saying, and people get those confused. If you want your hair to be super, super curly, you're going to pick up the smallest curling iron you can. If you want a gentle wave, you're going to have to 1 to 1.5 inches, right? If you want a barrel curl, you're probably going to use the same thing that you're choosing for. Okay? These all go together. Because that's why I don't want to make it boring because often I've taught this before and they're like, why not this? Because this is all going to come into play when you're making decisions regarding how to style hair or they say I want something soft and way to touch. Or also thinking that you're doing second base and your other direction. Okay? Okay, so these three terms, you have to connect this together. Quite a bit, and we are more important this is your kindness. But I want you to remember that there are three placements. What are the three placements? An off base. Okay? And you're right. And so what I want you to think of is I'm taking this strand of hair and I am over-directing it forward and rolling it down. Where am I placing it? Directly on the base. So if I'm popping something right on the base that I created, how much volume? Cool, right? That's going to give you a ton of volume. So think about when you take that curler right at the top of your head, that's going to be a full volume curl, right? And so you have to over-direct that to be able to get it directly down. Now, if I'm taking a strand of hair and I push that away from me and roll it down so it's completely off the base, how much volume is that? Very little. And so if they said, hey, I don't want super curvy ends, but I want a little volume at the roots, right? That's going to give you some soft curl, very little volume, right? And we'll we want it to be this big, right? And so think about that silhouette when I say volume, how big we want the hair to get. And then half face, that means that I pull it straight up, and then I'm going to roll it down, so half of it's on, half of it's off. What kind of volume is that going to be? Half face. Medium volume. Yep, perfect. Okay, so and where I want you to keep this in mind, yes, we're going to face rollers today, so you can see the roller setting, but if somebody says that they want to add a little bit of volume, so let's say that I'm using the curling iron, and I pull this up at 90 degrees, and pull it down, that's going to give me a light bulb line, right? But if I pull this hair back towards me, and I'm completely off the base, I'm going to get almost no volume at all, just some slight movement. And then if I pull it all the way forward, I'm going to get a bump it right here, right? Like a so that's where I want to start thinking of these as usable terms, because simply because we know the terminology behind it, I don't want you to get bored with the placement and think this is old-fashioned. It all applies. And as ALT has too, whenever we start going through foiling, how many times do I talk about that direction? Yeah, and so and think about whenever you go into petting, how many times do we talk about over direction? All the time, right? So these are all transferable. That's why I want you guys to feel really comfortable when we're doing that, because it gets your hands moving and you realize he's telling me to elevate at 90 degrees. I better put this straight up. He's telling me to elevate at 180. Everything's got to go, right? So and whenever I'm teaching you to put a foil in, I'm going to over direct that hair up and place the foil in. So don't feel like these are old-fashioned or I don't know, only a grandma's going to want it. No, that's not the reason or the why behind it. It's so that we learn how to control the hair. And then the last one would be the indentation. That's the point where the curls of opposite directions meet. Sometimes you can even do an indentation roller, meaning that you roll it upside down, and that's going to give you max volume. Indentation is sometimes a state court question, but that's not always. And then hot and Velcro rollers, I don't do a big thing on that. Just know that they're usually going to use most of the time they use steam. Some of them are covered in Velcro rollers. It says not allowed in some states. We are allowed to have Velcro rollers. Velcro rollers I usually use after I set the hair. Say there's some as well. So if where I actually just did the hair. So these are still applicable in that for me, was, an hour and a half of work and $250. So it still is applicable in a modern application. That's what I don't want, usually when I teach it, I know that y'all think, oh my God, that's kind of that. It's fun, and we still use it quite a bit in modern day. Okay, so going through those, there are quite a few more slides, but those are what I wanted to touch on today. And then what we're going to do, let's break for a lunch, because I love it.